Hello, you are with Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we are going to start chapter Suggestions for Project Work. Let us start talking on points methods for project work. This chapter suggests some small practical project work that you can try out. There is a big difference between reading about and actually doing it. Practical experience of trying to answer a question and collecting evidence systematically is a very valuable experience. This experience will hopefully introduce you to the excitement and also some of the difficulties of project work. The projects suggested here have tried to anticipate the potential problems of organizing this kind of activity for large number of students in different kinds of schools located in different kinds of contexts. These are intended just to give you a feel for research. A real project would obviously be more elaborate and involve much more time and efforts than is possible in your setting. These are meant as suggestions. Feel free to think up ideas of your own in consultation with your teachers, friends, and parents. Every project needs an appropriate or suitable method. A given question may be answered with more than one method, but a given method is not necessarily appropriate for all questions. In other words, for most of the questions, one has a choice of possible methods, but this choice is usually limited. One of the first tasks of the person is, after carefully specifying the question, is to select the suitable method. This selection must be done not only according to the technical criteria, that is the degree of the compatibility between the question and method, but also practical consideration. These later might include the amount of time available to do the project, the resources available in terms of both people and material, the circumstances or situations in which it has to be done, and so on. For example, let us suppose you are interested in comparing co-educational schools with boys only or girls only schools. This is, of course, is a broad topic. You must first formulate a specific question that you want to answer. Examples could be: do students in co-educational schools do better in studies than students in boys girls only schools? Are boys only schools always better than co-educational schools in sports? Are children in single sex schools happier than the children in co-educational schools? Or some other such questions. Having decided on a specific question, the next step is to choose the appropriate method. For the last question, are school children in a single sex school happier? For example, you could choose to interview students of different kinds of schools. In the interview, you could ask them directly how they felt about their school. You could then analyze the answers you collect to see if there is any difference between those who attend different kinds of schools. As an alternative, you could try to use a different method, say that of direct observation, to answer the question. This means that you would have to spend time in co-educational and boys or girls schools observing how students behave. You would have to decide on some criteria by which you could say if students are more or less happy with their school. So, after observing different kinds of school for sufficient time, you could hope to answer your question. A third method you could use is the survey method. This would involve preparing a questionnaire designed to get information on how students felt about their schools. You would then distribute the questionnaire to an equal number of students in each kind of school. You would then collect the filled in questionnaire and analyze the results. Here are some examples of some practical difficulties that you might face while doing the project of this kind. Suppose you decide to do a survey. You must first make enough copies of the questionnaire. This involves time, effort, and money. Next, you may need permission from teachers to distribute the questionnaire to students in their classroom. You may not get permission the first time, or you may be asked to come back later. After you have distributed the questionnaire, you may find that many people have not bothered to return it to you or have not answered all questions or other such problems. You then have to decide how to deal with this. Go back to your respondents and ask them to complete the questionnaire or ignore the incomplete questionnaires and consider only the complete one. Consider only the completed answers and so on. You must be prepared to deal with such problems during project work. Now let us discuss variety of methods. First is survey method. A survey usually involves asking a relatively large number of people, such as 30, 100, 2000, and so on. What is considered large depends on the context and the kind of topic. The same fixed set of questions. The questions may be asked by an investigator in person, where they are read out to the respondent and his or her answers are noted down by the investigator, or the questionnaire may be handed over to the respondent who then fill it up themselves and give it back. The main advantage of the survey is that it can cover a lot of people so that the results are truly representative of the relative groups or population. The disadvantage is that The questions to be asked are already fixed. No one on the spot adjustments are possible. So, if a question is misunderstood by the respondent, then wrong or misleading results can be produced. If respondent says something interesting, then this cannot be followed up with further question on the subject because you have to stick to the questionnaire format. Moreover, questionnaires are like a snapshot taken at one particular moment. The situation may change later or may have been different before, but the survey would not capture this. The second method is interviews. An interview is different from the survey in that it is always conducted in person and usually involves much fewer persons, as few as 5, 20, or 40, usually not much more than that. Interviews may be structured, that is, follow a predetermined pattern of questions, or unstructured, where only a set of topic is pre-decided and the actual questions emerge as a part of a conversation. Interviews may be more or less intensive in the sense that one may interview a person for a long time, 2 3 hours, or in repeated visits to get a really detailed version of their story. Interviews have the advantage of being flexible in that promising topic may be pursued in greater detail. Questions may be refined or modified along the way, and the clarifications may be sought. The disadvantage of the interview method is that it cannot cover a large number of top people and is limited to presenting the views of a selected group of individuals. Our next method is observations. Observation is the method where the person must systematically watch the record what is happening in whatever context or situation that has been chosen for. This sounds simple but may not always be easy to do in practice. Careful attention has to be paid to what is happening without prejudging what is relevant to the study and what is not. Sometimes what is not happening is as important or interesting as what does actually happen. For example, if your question is about how different classes of people use specific open spaces, then it is significant that a given class or group of people, say poor people or middle class people, for example, never enter the space or are never seen in it. Now comes the combination of more than one method. You can also try to combine methods to approach the same question from different angles. In fact, this is often highly recommended. For example, if you are searching the changing place of mass media sources like newspaper and television in social life, you could combine a survey with archival method. The survey will tell you about the what is happening today, while the archival method might tell you about what magazines, newspaper, or television programs were like in the past. Today we close our lecture here. In the next podcast, we shall talk possible themes. Thank you for listening.